And now let's take a look at how the Afghan campaign against al-Qaeda and the Taliban has been conducted since 2001. Here we have evidence of some strange behavior on the part of our ally, the British military, when in 2008 they are caught both supplying and even training the Taliban.
Operation Evil Airlift. In November of 2001, Taliban and al-Qaeda forces had been trapped in a pocket in northern Afghanistan in the city of Kunduz. And they were ringed in by Northern Alliance fighters who were operating together with U.S. Special Operations Forces. But they had been encircled. And for whatever reason, a deal was struck that would allow elements of the Pakistani Air Force to fly aircraft into an airfield in Kunduz to extract a number of personnel on the ground in Kunduz. This was dubbed by U.S. Special Forces who witnessed it as Operation Evil Airlift, and a number of U.S. Special Forces personnel were frustrated by having to observe this happening from the hills around the Kunduz pocket. There's been a lot of speculation about why this was allowed to happen. And I think not all the facts are out on the table.
We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars in Iraq.
About $15 billion a month.
And how much are we spending on Afghanistan, approximately?
I think since 2001, we've spent a total of $12 billion. There's been studies that suggest that 88% of our aid never makes it into Afghanistan. It's being spent on overhead or studies, or it never really contributes to the Afghan population. When you start to take those types of figures in hand, I mean, the per capita aid per year to Afghans is about $7, about the cost of a McDonald's Happy Meal. And you're just not going to rebuild a country and win the trust and confidence of the people people that are literally living in biblical times with that type of minimalistic aid.
Certainly, between what happened in Kunduz and what happened at Tora Bora a couple of weeks later, the United States lost a golden opportunity to inflict really severe damage on al-Qaeda and Taliban leadership.
What happened at Tora Bora?
At Tora Bora, a number of al-Qaeda personnel, key al-Qaeda operatives, including Osama bin Laden, were able to escape a partial encirclement by Northern Alliance and U.S. Special Operations Forces and withdraw into Pakistan, which was several miles away across the border.
Why a partial encirclement? Why not a complete encirclement?
The U.S. commander at the time, General Tommy Franks, decided not to commit U.S. ground forces to Tora Bora, despite the requests of U.S. troop leaders on the ground, and to rely instead on Afghan warlords to complete the encirclement. Unfortunately, the warlords that were chosen turned out to be warlords who had previously allied themselves with the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. And he was able to slip through less than vigilant observation of many of the trails.
That the United States, after 9/11 and bombardment of Afghanistan, they brought the warlords back into power. That is the most dangerous part of this history, because these warlords, they are like black marketers. They play with the Soviet, they played with Pakistan, they played with Iran, with Saudis, with everywhere, and of course with the Americans at that time, and they're still playing right now.
I mean, let's not forget that bin Laden and al-Qaeda planned and instituted and 9/11 attacks from Afghanistan. I mean, I think that ultimately it's not outrageous to believe that Afghanistan is more important in this thing we call the more metaphorical war on terrorism than Iraq. But we're trying to do it on the cheap, and we haven't instituted the types of policies needed to reconstruct this country. And I think that, quite honestly, our military footprint is way too small for what's required in Afghanistan.
I mean, we have plenty of oil and plenty of gas resources. Plus, we have copper. The biggest mine of copper is in south of Kabul, in Logar. It's called Ainak. And that agreement was made, the contract was made with China, and they're going to explore the mine. Besides that, the biggest iron mine is in Afghanistan, and it is called Hajigak. It is huge. Besides that, we have uranium.
I mean it. If Americans withdraw from Afghanistan, of course there will be disaster.
If the coalition forces, if the Americans leave Afghanistan, Karzai government within hours will collapse. It won't take a couple of hours, for guarantee.
Since 2002, word on the street in Afghanistan has been that U.S. and NATO troop levels and investment in reconstruction has been so minimal that the Taliban would have no trouble reinvading the country. Is this stupidity or strategy?